Welcome in everybody to the first live Kamikaze little get together here. We just decided to do a an impromptu Superflex rookie mock. We were all talking about our boards and landing spots and what's going to happen with everything, and then we just decided, you know what, let's get on and chop it up. So it's going to be the usual cast here. We're waiting on the Emmy Award winner because he's apparently going to try to be fashionably late. He's going to try and show us up and show how important he is, I guess. I guess whenever you have an Emmy, that's what you can do, right? You just do whatever the hell you want.
That's exactly right. And that he has shown that on multiple occasions.
I would get in trouble if I had one because I'd be like, what was that, honey? You can't make me a sandwich. Why? Here's my Emmy.
Oh,
hey, she is.
that timing.
Good timing.
Hi, Mrs. Dwight.
Oh, man.
Did you know?
Ouch, no.
I thought you timed that. I thought that was just well played.
I knew she was home, but oops.
I didn't know she could hear me.
And my Emmy's going to get me sleeping on the couch tonight. So
that meeting got canceled for later tonight.
I think you're on mute, J. Mike.
I was, yeah. I said cause of death, coronavirus. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, it looks like Dwight's going to be able to hang out a little bit longer, so that's good.
Good.
Well, we some of us have some more important things to do that we don't want to hold each other up from. So, J. Mike, you are the man with the meeting. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off here? Again, this is going to be a Superflex rookie mock. So, J. Mike, you got going to give you the 101 here, buddy.
I'm very sorry about this already. I'm just going to throw this out there. I will not do the basic thing. And already in a draft that I'm in, we're already seeing the 101 be in so many different places. But if you are here and watching live, and we appreciate you, and you see the name on the screen here for me, Big Clyde Edwards T. Jefferson here. So I'm going to get real crazy here, and I'm going to go with CEH at the 101. I am obviously a big fan. Very hot, very hot. And I think in many instances, the value probably leans toward the quarterback. But for all intents and purposes, though, in a situation where I feel like I'm good at quarterback, I feel really good about the top two running backs being either one. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire got the landing spot of all landing spots in Kansas City. I'm excited to see what he's going to be, how he's going to be weaponized down there with Andy Reid and a host of other absurd options. Sky's the limit for that guy to be able to catch 60-plus balls a season and just do some crazy things. So CEH is going to be my pick here at 101.
I think we should talk about that a little bit because I think we've been seeing not that it's bad at all, but I think that's a big narrative right now of the vanilla quarterbacks or quarterback and then maybe two a little bit later versus now we have two running backs that I think are starting to creep into people's 101s, even in Superflex. And so it's that value in trying to figure out, do you like the running back that's maybe going to hit a little bit sooner, produce for your team maybe year one, or do you like the rookie quarterback who might, be a QB 18 or something like that, but will build for years to come? I think I've seen a lot of conversation about that. I was curious if you guys had any thoughts on that.
What's funny is I think before the draft, if you did any Superflex rookie mocks, it was always Burrow. And now all of a sudden, the couple I've been in, Burrow's usually the third one, fourth one off the board. It's definitely not following the protocol. And I noticed this swing a little bit last season, even in the startups that I did and the mocks that I did, that it used to always be Superflex was like 6 of the top 10 picks, 12 picks, And last year I saw more and more, even in the Scott Fish Bowl, there was a lot of guys that were, only one quarterback going in the first round, 2 in the first couple, like it wasn't that push to get those quarterbacks early like we used to always have to in Superflex. So I actually kind of like it. It's been kind of nice. I mean, the auction values they've still been, you still have to pay out the nose to get a quarterback. But if you've got like a snake draft, it's there's not a push to get those top 2-3 quarterbacks like you used to have to. So it's kind of nice. So.
Do you think that has more to do with the questions with the top two guys? Yeah, I mean, like, do we think if we had like a Deshaun Watson, so to speak, like that level of prospect who've been doing it for 3 years, you know what I mean? Like the fact that Burrow, people are questioning the 1 year of production, to his medicals. Herbert kind of seems to be the safe guy who might not have the ceiling. Like, is that the reason why we're seeing that? Because normally, like J Mike said, the basic thing would just be quarterback superflex at the 101. So is that what is pushing the running backs ahead for you guys, or is it just the fact that you believe in these running backs so much that you're willing to go RB over QB at that 101?
I feel like it's a confluence of all these things, right? Because we're watching Joe Burrow and Tua, while both fantastic prospects, both going to wildly dysfunctional franchises, right? Who have just been really bad for a long time. So that's a piece of the puzzle. And we also got any and all of the draft capital that we could have hoped for in this vaunted running back class that we've been waiting for. Everybody got a spot that we can say, you know what? I like that. Like nobody's like, you know what? That's absolutely terrible for Cam Akers to be in LA. Like that's all. Like nobody's saying that, right? So we got all the things that we wanted with this draft, and all of those things being put together with a class of running backs that obviously people have been excited about for a long time. It just spells for drafts to be crazy. It spells for even in the same settings that you may have over leagues. We're going to be looking at vastly different drafts, league to league to league, even if you have very similar people in the league that you may be with. So it's going to make for an interesting time, and it's not just based off of the 1 year of production for Burrow or the injury for Tua. It's so many things wrapped together. But I think the running back landing spots is really what pushed things over the edge for a lot of people.
Right, and that running back, you're only going to get that top level production from a running back usually for 3 or 4 years. So you want to grab them. And those, if you look at your championship teams, they all have several good running backs, that can do that, 3, 4 of them sometimes even. So I think getting those running backs that'll hit and lead your team is so much more important when the quarterback takes a couple years to develop and is going to play for 15 years probably. I don't feel like there's so much of a crunch to get a quarterback. So, and then like J Mike said, it's a combination of everything too. The landing spots kind of, the Bengals and Dolphins, yeah, whatever. So yeah.
All right, Dwight will take us to 102, sir.
All right, and I'll go Jonathan Taylor. So I'm right in the same boat as J Mike, man. I love Jonathan Taylor's landing spot, one of the best offensive lines in college football. Settle down, Pirate. So, one of the best offensive lines in football, and that boy's just going to eat, man. I don't see Marlon Mack being much more than a speed bump, man. He might start the first couple games, but I think Taylor's going to take over quick there and run with it. So, yeah, we've seen enough of Taylor, the 6,000 yards in college, the 900 and some odd carries, he's had the production. He's just going to hit the ground running. He may only last 4 or 5 years, but he's going to be amazing in Indy. So I actually love that spot. He's right now who I have at 101. So I'll take Taylor at 102 here.
Real quick question, Dwight, before we kick it over to Robbie. Do you have any hesitations with how he may or may not be used in the passing game? Not saying that he can't do it, but we've seen it with Marlon Mack, right, where he's actually, like, I forget who put out the tweet, but someone did it maybe like a week or so before the draft, just about guys that are actually sent out on routes during, passing plays, but just aren't targeted. Do you have, any hesitation with how that may or may not influence his ceiling, or he might fall into that same kind of trap?
He might. I mean, that's one of the things you got to worry about. He did catch 20 passes this last year. So he can do it. And it's just a matter of whether the Colts ask him to, because they do seem to have the clearly defined, this is our runner, this is our pass catcher. So I'm hoping they let him do it. But even so, he's going to he's going to be a guy who's going to get 1,500 yards on the ground regardless. So I don't know. I think he's pretty safe, but he may not have that ceiling. He may not get the contract like McCaffrey. He's not going to be that type of a back, but he'll still be a good enough back. So Yeah, that's something you do have to worry about a little bit. I think Frank Reich's one of the better coaches in the NFL, and I think he'll get the most out of them. So I'm not horribly worried about it, but it's obviously, it's there. It's a worry. You do have to worry about it.
Do you guys think with these first two guys that they come in and take the mantle right away? Is it more of a split through first 6 to 8 games? What do you think that snap share looks like for each of these first two guys?
I don't speak for J Mike's guy, but I think probably first 4 games, maybe. I don't think it's going to take long to show that both guys are that much more better. That much more better. I know good English too. I think both of those guys are so much better than Damian Williams and Marlon Mack. So I don't think it's going to take very long. So.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that Taylor will take hold of the backfield prior to CEH is doing. Because the one thing that you'll recognize is that I feel like you can likely leave Taylor on the field all 3 downs, all situations, and feel pretty good about it. With CEH, I don't think you're going to feel great goal line, and I don't think you're going to feel great short yardage. So it may take him longer to perhaps grab hold of the backfield itself. However, his role, though, likely as the primary pass catching option in the offense, I think is going to be unmatched. Although Damian Williams obviously has shown that he can be proficient there as well. And there's still a lot of bodies in Kansas City. So curious how Andy Reid is going to leverage those guys, because we saw, what was it, like at least 4 different people have a halfway decent role last season. Sean McCoy, Damian Williams. We got a glimpse of Darwin Thompson, not a ton, but then we also had Darrell Williams, who gave us fantasy goodness in moments too. So still a lot of people there. Hopefully CEH will take over sooner, but I think Taylor's value probably shoots up much higher, quicker, would be my guess.
Yeah. Hey, what was that? All right. Yep. Cody, do you want to take the 103 or?
I'm gonna give that to. Look at this.
Oh, you fancy?
I wish I could take credit for that. We have a sneaky guy behind the scenes right now. Robbie, go ahead and take the 103.
I'll take the value there and take Joe Burrow. I think we dipped into it a little bit, the struggle of, what do you want? Do you want a running back who probably hits quick and in that first year? Dwight had made the really good observation that I think these running backs can hit for a couple years, 2, 3, 4 years. Might not go as long as those quarterbacks. But I think when you look at the 101 in the prospect that is Joe Burrow, I think you're in it for the long haul, and I think it's going to be a good ride with him. So the Bengals have some weapons, probably can do a little bit of work on that line, but I think he's going to be a really good prospect, and I think getting him at 103 is a really good spot, especially if you're a QB needy team.
I agree. I'm also going to be a coward here. I cannot follow the strength that the other.
Got no Mabbas. You got no Mabbas.
Are you saying Jesus Christ couldn't hit a curveball? At 4, I'm also going to take the easy way out here, and I will take Tua. They beefed up the O-line for him a little bit. They didn't add any receivers, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they did anything receiver-wise. So I think that's kind of wheels up for Preston Williams. He's someone I was thinking about today as like a low-key stock up. Obviously, Parker on the outside. Man, I really want to see Albert Wilson just be healthy for a full season. I just want one more, and then that's it. That shout out to Kevin Steele for the comment here. He's a big fan of the show. He's been hanging around for a little bit, so should probably give him some props here. He's always hanging out in the comments, and maybe it's time we show him some love. So thanks Kevin for talking about how nice the overlay looks here. Yeah, and then if they throw Gesicki in the slot, so I am going to take the easy way out. I will take Tua Tagovailoa at 104. And let's go back to J Mike at the 105 until the Emmy Award winner decides that he's good enough for the show.
Yeah, I think this creates a really interesting pivot point in a lot of drafts. 105, I think, can be fun, depending on kind of where you're leaning, how you're feeling. The value can be in one place, but you may really love other players depending upon your team. I find it really, really difficult to pass on the running backs here, so I won't. I'm going to go with the next guy who's on my board. And I spent way too much time on Sunday organizing kind of what I want my board to look like to some degree. And I'm going with one J.K. Dobbins. I'm going with J.K. Dobbins here. And just a quick glimpse into my head, I think that he and Swift will both have very similar ascensions, if you will. However, I think that Swift's will happen faster. I think that he'll be able to grasp a quicker market share or a larger market share earlier, depending upon how they want to use carry on. But I think the Swift can take a lot of that backfield now, whereas Dobbins kind of has to wade through it. We'll see if Ingram obviously can finish up the year healthy or if he eats into any of Ingram's work, because obviously Ingram was still really good last year for our fantasy team. So I think that Dobbins, for me, in the offense that he's in, leveraging the skills that he showed in RPOs at Ohio State, and his ability to be able to run incredibly strong as well as show good lateral versatility, like Dobbins in Baltimore in a scheme that's right now just OD. Absolutely OD. In Baltimore right now, everything they're doing feels like gold. Their draft was gold. So I'm feeling good about Dobbins here at 105.
That is a perfect fit for Dobbins, I feel like.
Yeah, of this big four, you love his situation, but he's the one that I could see not taking a full role this year. Yep. But next year it's going to be, gangbusters, man. He's going to be – you just love that scheme. But I don't see him totally wrestling away from Ingram all season. So it'll be one of those annoying situations for this year, but then beyond this year, I can't see him keeping Ingram another year. So you can't – I love that pick, man. That's a great spot for him. Great spot.
Dwight, who are you taking here? 106.
I gotta take Cam Akers.
You sound upset.
No. I'm not taking Keyshawn Vaughn, Kevin. Anyways, it's definitely Cam Akers. I love the spot. I love that he's doing that. He's gonna get. He should easily take the lead role there. The only thing that worries me a little bit is these. They had not the greatest offensive line last year, and I know he ran at Florida State with not an great offensive line, but he's gonna. So I'm a little tiny bit worried about that, but they have not had a back. They've not had a back as good as him since last year, and since Gurley was out. Anyway, that wasn't a good lead into that one. I don't know. I like the things that Cam brings to the game, the versatility, everything that he can do, and I think he'll be all right behind that offensive line. I don't know if he'll, get 1,000 yards this year rushing, and stuff like that. But he's going to take a little bit of time to get into the game. But I love the ceiling he has there in that offense. So Sean McVay will do everything he can to get him, in space, running lanes, things like that. So I love Cam Akers. At 106, that's fine. And this is, from what I've seen so far, been almost the top 6 on every single one I've done so far. So I think I've only done 4 or 5, but I think this has been like the top 6 Superflex, like the 4 running backs and the 2 quarterbacks. So every once in a while, someone will slip in a wide receiver, but yeah.
Dwight, can I ask real quick? Does the backfield in LA worry you with the fact that Malcolm Brown seemingly was the first go-to guy after Gurley, and then the fact that they put the capital, what was it, the 2nd or 3rd round pick last year in Darrell Henderson when they traded up for him? Does any of that sway you or bother you? And obviously it doesn't because you took him anyway, but how much of that affects your viewpoint of how Akers can move forward?
Oh, not at all. I'm not at all worried about those 2 guys. Like, they might spell him for a touch here and there, but I think that Cam has the best shot of being the day 1 starter of all 4 of these guys. So I'll gladly take him there. And Henderson couldn't even beat out Malcolm Brown last year. Malcolm Brown has been decent in little spurts, but neither of them are anywhere near the back that Cam Akers is. So, yeah, not at all worried.
Is this the year we see John Kelly asking for a friend?
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
No.
All right, Robbie, where are you going with the next one?
I think I'll round us out with that top 7 that Dwight was talking about and take Swift here. I'll put Swift up a little bit higher. I know that Detroit has kind of destroyed our hopes and dreams the last couple of backs that have gone there, but Swift pre-draft was the top running back for me. I just think he just does so many things well and at a really high level that if you're going to get this guy at 107, I understand, again, the landing spot isn't always ideal. Carry on still there. Just that offense just is a little weird sometimes, but they've had production. I mean, when Carry on is healthy, he's been able to produce. They were able to make a couple of relatively irrelevant backs relevant for a week or two, if I remember right, last year. I think Swift is really good value here.
It almost feels like and I'm sorry to speak up again, but with Swift, I have a question for you too, Robbie, because Swift he received my top grade on film for running backs. Some of the things that messed with me a little bit was the long list of injuries that he had to deal with, or basically dealt with throughout his time at Georgia, and as well as obviously landing in Detroit. While the opportunity seems nice, obviously we could be looking at a turnover in coaching staff, and obviously you believe that the talent with Trump, all those things. How much? Well, how much at this point, since Swift was your top guy, did he take a pretty heavy fall for you? How much do those things factor for you?
I think we talked about it a lot, J. Mike, both in these kind of chats and then, just in our chats, that I struck out with A.J. Brown when I let his landing spot fall down my ranks last year, and I missed on a ton of A.J. Browns. He was, I think if I remember correctly, he was my wide receiver 3. I really liked his film. And then he lands with the Titans, and I was like, I just can't get behind that. And I'm trying not to let that affect me as much. Obviously, it's going to have an effect. The injuries, they're there, but I knew that beforehand, and I still think Swift does enough where I had him at 101. So when you look at the landing spot, I just think it's something where if he stays healthy, which is that first marker, that he's going to produce. I think they have a good enough line, and if Stafford stays healthy, they have a good enough offense to give enough time on the field and enough red zone opportunities where he can produce in year one. I actually don't think Carry-On's as dead as most other folks think, but both of those guys have a little bit of injury history, so it just depends on what shakes out there.
So just real quick, while we are on the subject of DeAndre Swift, got my hands on Dr. Ethan Turner's injury guide. I believe he is on Twitter at eTurnerPTFF or something along those lines. My bad if I completely bungled that, man. But he was on the draft shows that we did Thursday and Friday. He was awesome, man. That was the first time I actually got to talk with him that it wasn't in DMs. But he put together this awesome injury guide. So for Swift, 43 college games played, 0 missed due to injury, but he did have 6 injuries on here dating back to 2016. So starting at 2016 and moving more recently, it was an ankle sprain. 2017 undisclosed. Swift missed 3 practices with an undisclosed injury. 2018, another ankle sprain. He missed a week of practice, but they had a bye week, so he didn't miss any game time. 2 groin strains. Swift only played 1 quarter against Middle Tennessee. Did not miss any games after that. And then I guess that was a injury he sustained in the offseason. And then 2019 left shoulder contusion. Swift missed the final 1.5 quarters against Georgia Tech, but he returned the following week. So seems like he's had a lot of those nagging injuries, nothing that's caused him to miss time yet. But I believe he said on the pod, on the live shows, that the best indicator of future injury is past injury. So does anything pop up? I mean, we never know. Everyone thought Frank Gore was dead until, he's still kicking around somewhere. So only time will tell with him.
Yeah, I think that you bring up a really good case, and I think you see that with the running back position a lot. Is
Just in general, yeah.
Just in general, yeah, they take a lot of hits, and I think that might be another reason why I tend to favor the quarterbacks a little bit more. Obviously, we saw 2019 where a ton of quarterbacks went down, which kind of goes against that logic. But obviously, that running back position just gets banged up a lot. There's a lot of split carries sometimes, and so yeah, it's definitely something to note, especially with Swift's history. But I think, like you said, no games missed and no major injury.
I'm going to displease Mr. Steele here. I'm also not going to take the easy way out this time. I'm going to take the first receiver off the board. Give me Mr. Jalen Reagor, the 2020 wide receiver numero uno. He got the capital. He got the landing spot. I really don't think it's that crazy to have him at 1. I had him at 3 pre-draft. And then with the landing spot, the other 2 guys, I mean, they didn't have awful landing spots, but they're definitely going to have more competition for targets than Reagor is. And I'm super excited to see him with Wentz. Now he finally doesn't have to throw to the ghost of Alshon Jeffrey and XFL star, or was it even XFL? I don't even think it was XFL. It was the AAF or whatever it was before that, and Greg Ward. So finally getting him a weapon who can move a little quicker than a turtle. That is another Alshon Jeffrey dig, and I'm not going to stop. Let's go back to J Mike. You have the 109, I believe.
Yeah, 109, and for me, wide receiver 1 or quarterback in Superflex, where you know that obviously typically if they get disrespected and they tend to come back and bite people in the butt when you don't take them. Your Josh Allens, your Daniel Jones, the list can go on and on, at least with those 2 specifically. Justin Herbert was taken with the top 6 pick in the NFL draft, and I find it hard to pass him here, so I'm not. Justin Herbert's the pick here at 109. I will take the value. I'll take the major value bump, even if he just doesn't poop the bed in year 1. The main thing is, can he get on the field sometime in the first year above Tyrod Taylor, and can he give us any kind of positive play, specifically with his athleticism that a lot of people want to talk about? I want to see those things materialize with a nice surrounding cast in LA. The Chargers have obviously good skill players there, so yeah, I'm going with Justin Herbert here. Tough call for me, but Herbert's the pick here.
I debated him over Reagor, but had to pull the trigger on Reagor.
Cody and I were talking about this before you guys jumped on, with this COVID-19 and what it looks like for rookies as they join their teams. Obviously, they'll be virtually getting the playbook, doing their own workouts from home. Do you guys see a delay in some of these rookies, whether it's the running back, whether it's Justin Herbert trying to compete with Tyrod? Do you see a delay in them getting those snaps? Not all in one one size fits all, but just further back than what they would have if we weren't seeing this type of situation.
Yeah, obviously that's something we do have to worry about a little bit, because some of these guys would be, flying across the country to work with Keenan Allen and stuff like that, doing things like that they could do to learn. And they'll have the playbook, but they won't have the experience and things like that. So it's probably going to hurt a little bit. I still think Herbert's going to be the starter on day 1. I just don't have a lot of faith in Tyrod. But yeah, it's going to hurt the rookies. It's definitely some of them. I mean, yeah, it's no doubt. I mean, it's going to be, it could be pretty ugly first couple of weeks, So yeah, I'm just looking at rankings, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. You guys got me all thrown off. So
it's okay.
What do you have? A whiteboard, Dwight? What are you looking at?
That's my TV. It's like my 45-inch screen. That's my second monitor.
Oh, this whole time I was like, man, Dwight's like heavy in thought over there, because all I see is
he's got his war room set up.
That's
he's
my
ready
sheet.
to mock.
It's my sheet porn site. Anyway, what's he doing with that stick? No, I'm just kidding. God help me. All righty. At 110, I'm going to take the best wide receiver on the Cowboys, Mr. CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Best wide receiver on the Cowboys. Anyways, it might take him.
Do you actually mean that?
Yes, I do. I fully mean it. I think CeeDee Lamb will take. He may not take the first year jump, that we want when we pick a wide receiver this high. He may not. He's not going to get 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, things like that the first year. He might take a little bit more time. He's got to learn that separation, things like that, to be the elite wide receiver. But I love what he can do down the field, the jump ball ability, the alpha dog mentality. If Amari Cooper has been lacking one thing, it is that alpha dog mentality. So he's they could end up just being like a 1A, 1B type of thing for a couple years, but it will be CeeDee Lamb before the next 3 years, probably, with the next couple years. So I love CeeDee a lot. I love what he can bring to the offense. That's going to be a pretty scary offense this year. So, yeah, I will gladly take CeeDee here, wait a year or two, and have my wide receiver one for the next 7 years. So I'll take CeeDee at 110 at any draft, any draft I can get him. So very happy.
Robbie, you're up.
I will follow up with another wide receiver in Jerry Jeudy. It's interesting because sometimes the landing spots are great, and then the more you think about it, and all the talent that's around there, you think, well, how many targets can this person actually get, and what's their role in that team, and how do they fit in? And I've gone back and forth on this landing spot because I liked Jeudy. Obviously, we've all had him up in our rankings. He was wide receiver 2 for me, and so sometimes I think Jerry Jeudy might be the guy that struggles with all that young talent that surrounds him, and how young the quarterback is. And then other times I think, maybe that doesn't matter, and maybe it's just that talent again, right? That we keep on talking about, just trust the talent and rises to the top. But that team just has so much young firepower around Locke that I just think there's going to be a lot of. And when I say a lot, it's what's that balance too, because you still have a second-year quarterback with a defensive-minded coach that likes to run the ball. They signed a running back in the offseason, and so I don't know what those targets look like and how many times they're going to throw. But I'm talking in circles. But yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on Jerry Jeudy, because he's a guy that I go back and forth on. I'm like, man, I really love this, and then other times I'm like, I don't really know if I love this.
I think it's going to be a common thread with him is talking in circles. You don't know what he's going to do because he is an elite talent in an offense where you don't know what Drew Lock's going to do this year. You got Noah Fant, they got KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton. I mean, just so many good weapons, and Gordon's one of the best pass catching backs out of the backfield. Like, how is he going to get enough passing? How's he going to get 40 targets this year? I mean, Jesus, it's going to be tough. So, but I do think he is a very good elite talent that will get open underneath a lot, and he should see the lion's share of those, shorter targets that he can do things with. So that was one of the things that he seemed to really excel at Alabama this year in particular, was taking those, 6-7 yard hitches and crossing patterns and running them, 30, 40 yards downfield. So I think he's got a spot there. I just don't know if he'll be. We can talk in circles. Right after the draft, he was my wide receiver 1, but then I started talking myself out of that. So I just don't know what they're going to do there, man. Drew Lock's got an embarrassment of riches, man.
Yeah, and that becomes the question, right? Because we know Judy's awesome. We know that he's going to be able to get open. Those are not questions. He's also plugged into an offense with a whole bunch of people who are probably going to be getting open, with a very proficient pass-catching running back in Melvin Gordon. And all of a sudden you look up and you don't know how big of a pie he's going to be able to have, partially because how big of a pie was he able to take from Alabama among similar skill guys? And while I love Jerry Jeudy, the player, is he going to come in and just command number 2 targets behind Cortland Sutton? I don't know. I don't know that I feel great about that, especially in a Vic Fangio offense that I think probably wants to run the ball. And I don't know that those pass attempts are going to be near as plentiful as we'd hope for. But Judy's a heck of a player. Again, every time I turn on tape on him, I see Chad Johnson. Every single time with his footwork, I see Chad so much. So I hope Judy's fantastic. I really do. I'm just really curious if he can take that market share that we want him to be able to take. But golly, that's a fun offense to track. Drew Lock, you better not screw this up. You better not screw this up.
Yeah, that to me is the big question is what does that offense do? If they open it up, then that Jerry Jeudy at this point is going to be a steal. You know what I mean? But if they keep it close to the vest a little, you know what I mean? If they're not going to open up, if they're still going to lean run heavy, but then you look at what they did in the draft, and that doesn't their picks don't exactly say conservative offense. You know what I mean? Then they added Hamler, the very next round, I think. You know, so you add a guy like Hamler, you have Sutton, you add Jeudy. Do they also pick up Alberto? Or am I making that up?
Yeah.
Alberto, Phillip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon. They got offensive line help. So if they decide they want to open that up, to me, those picks kind of seem like, all right, we have Patty Mahomes also right. Rocking here. There's no way, even if we have the 85 Bears defense. I was talking to one of my boys in one of my home leagues, and I was saying, like, even if you go out and you try to make the 85 Bears defense, you have to play a perfect 60 minutes against Mahomes. You know what I mean? If you play the perfect 58 minutes, that doesn't matter because Mahomes can still do it to you just like that. So to me, that kind of seems like it was like, all right, we have to go toe to toe, and hopefully we'll be able to stay up. So it will be interesting with Locke and how long of a leash they give him. You know what I mean? Like if they put all these pieces around him and he's not going out there and there's no excuses for Locke after this year. I will say that.
Yeah, just looking up their stats from last year, Denver as a team threw the seventh least amount of times with 504 attempts, 312 completions. And, you know, obviously they can take a step forward as Locke enters his second year. But, again, we talk about there's three rookies coming into that offense that would seem to get playing time. Melvin Gordon is not a rookie, but definitely new to the team. So just how much will they throw, especially early in the season, I think, as they try and work all that chemistry. So, again, it's Dynasty, so you don't have to look at just 1 year, but we've now fully talked in the circle, and we're ready for that 112 pick.
J. Mike, I am sorry, my friend.
No! It's not supposed to go down like this.
It's going down like this.
I thought about taking my guy here, but I can't just take my guy and let him fall to you, man. I got to go Justin Jefferson. It
fraud,
went on.
You fraud. Boo. Cody, boo.
It went on too long. I mean, the targets are going to be there. I mean, who's he going to have to fight with? Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith. You know what I mean? Even if I don't think we see another 10 attempt game from Kirk Cousins the way we did to start the year last year. Thielen, he's no spring chicken. So if once he's out of the picture, I like the spot anyway. But once Thielen's out of there, Justin Jefferson, he's in a great spot, and I've seen him as high as wide receiver one on some ranks, and like I can't really debate that. I see that and I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, like that's like I'm not gonna be mad at that. So, J Mike, hopefully I have you on full tilt here with that snipe. What are you doing at 201?
Getting ready to pull my hair out. That's what I'm getting ready to do at 201. Oh man, this presents a very, 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 very interesting thing. I was legitimately banking on the fact that yes, my guy would be here, and I will. You know what? I'll show some love to Mr. Blasty Blast himself, and if he's still watching, man, do I really want to do that? As a Rojo stan, this kind of hurts, but this is what I feel like in this draft. This is the last guy that I felt, at least coming in, could be the A side of a tandem, of some sort of tandem. I don't think he necessarily has bell cow capabilities, but I think he has potential to be the A side of it. Now that he's in Tampa Bay, I don't know, but I will take Keyshawn Vaughn here. at the 201 with full intention that to some degree he's probably going to be on the field and spoiled at least some of Rojo's work. Now, I'm really pleased that none of those top 5 guys went and just full-fledged took the backfield from Rojo. But keep in mind, Rojo is still younger than Keyshawn Vaughn at this very moment. And we saw Rojo take good steps last season as well. But Keyshawn Vaughn coming into an offense that's, again, as loaded as any in the league, you'd like to be able to see him get some opportunities to be able to implement or basically become an impact in year 1 for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I personally, as a Rojo truther myself, J. Mike, I didn't hate Keyshawn Vaughn going here. As you said, as long as it wasn't the top 5, and I really like Keyshawn Vaughn. And I think that actually kind of it makes me sad because now Keyshawn Vaughn is getting this hype that I think he would have fallen later in drafts if he didn't get this landing spot. So now I have to pay up a little bit to get him. But as someone who owns a lot of Rojo shares, I think I'll try and just double dip in that offense and try and also get Keyshawn Vaughn because I think, like you said, whoever and they're both going to get work. I'd like to point out that Peyton Barber to the tote of 3.1 yards per carry got over 130 or so, 140 rushes. Lord knows how that continued. But so, yeah, I think they both will have some good games and some good opportunities to make some plays in what is on paper a really prolific offense. So I'd like to double down and get both backs where I can.
Can we mute Kevin or no?
Man, Kevin,
this is the absolute. Cody, you need to tell your mans this is the absolute wrong place for the Rojo slander. This ain't it. This is not the place.
There's a lot of places. This is just not it.
There's a lot of deep, dark corners of Twitter where you can spout off all the Rojo slander you'd like and get people praising you and lifting you up. This right here, this is that death. You can't do that here.
Man, Kevin,
all up, Kev.
Kevin has been in the Twitter streets since yesterday. I think just literally just swinging blindly at anyone who comes near him. I think his dying words are just going to be Bayshon at this point.
He looked incredibly sleep deprived on both Thursday and Friday. I thought a couple times he fell asleep during your podcast, during your live broadcast.
he was just garnering up the strength to be able to go out just be on full tilt mode, just swinging like a crazy man. So that was well-deserved rest that he was just preparing his body for the onslaught of what was to come.
All right, 202.
Who you got?
Going between my mind and my heart here. I don't know, struggling. I'm going to go with Henry Ruggs. That's what my mind says. My mind says you've got to take this value here. Like the draft capital, the offense is going to be around him. I kept hearing people say, Derek Carr can't throw it as far as Henry Ruggs goes, blah, blah, blah. And I just don't buy that. Most of what I saw, most of the damage that Ruggs would do is the type that like Tyreek does, when you catch that slant, 7-8 yards from the line of scrimmage and then boosh, just gone. So Henry Ruggs is still going to get his damage. And I know they drafted 2 other wide receivers there. I'm drawing a blank at who they got. They got Bowden, didn't they? Or
Bowden and Edwards.
And Brian Edwards. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. That's 3 great role players. That was a very, very intelligent draft. Settle down, Jobby. I thought that was great. Like just a way to build your wide receiver core perfectly. I love it. But I think Ruggs will be the one guy there, the 1A, and even if you want to call one of them the 1B, but I think he'll be the number 1, and that's what my head says. So I'll take what I think.
My body set up me. Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong.
I don't want to hurt nobody. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right. So I will
Yes. Commissioner Jobby.
T. Higgins. I don't know if I need to say much more. I've spouted enough about T. Higgins every time we get on this, guys. He is a baller. Just wins in so many ways. I am very, very, very excited if I can get him at this 203 pick in rookie drafts, which by the mocks I've seen, the way this is going, it looks like he'll be there. So might take a year, obviously, with AJ Green looking like he'll be there, and Boyd, Burrow, obviously getting his rookie year under him. But that is a guy I'm excited about.
Yeah, Burrow to Higgins is going to be there for a long time, man. I love that pick. I was absolutely shocked when he was still there at 201, or the second round of the actual draft. I was not surprised that he was there, but I was surprised the Bengals took him. So, yeah, I love that pick. So, yep.
He's going to have to beat out Auden Tate first, but if he then excited.
Move to Auden Tate to tight end. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Dude, I loved Auden Tate so much when he was coming out. I remember like the pre-draft rookie mocks. I was taking him like first round everywhere. Didn't matter where it was Auden Tate, and then like I just kept watching that draft and watching that draft and watching that and watching. I was glad he showed a little something this year. Him and Alan Lazard. Those were two. What looked like two big L's for the Code Man ended up being slightly not as big L's. But man, with you taking T here, this one's easy for me. I'm going Denzel Mims. This is a super easy pick. He got the draft capital. I mean, the only thing he has to wait out is Adam Gase, but other than that, not a lot of competition for targets outside of Crowder in the slot. He's going to go to the outside. The only hesitation I have is how we've seen that wide receivers tend not to develop under Gase, and I do think that Mims has a little bit of rawness to his game. I do think he has to develop a little bit. Hopefully, Gase won't hold him back too long. But I mean, even if he does, you've got to figure the targets are going to be there anyway. So Denzel Mims at this point, I love it. He was one of my favorites pre-draft, post-draft, pre-combine, post-combine. I don't give a damn. He was one of my favorites. So I'm going to take Mims here pretty easily. I mean, I guess there was one other name I was thinking about here, but we'll see if he goes before it gets back to me. J Mike, back on to you.
I'm torn between two guys. I won't spoil who the second guy is for the time being, but right now my pick is going to be Michael Pittman, the wide receiver out of USC, going to the Indianapolis Colts, one pick after T. Higgins. And I find the comparison of those two guys, I had a really rough time to see who was going to be ahead of who. And as I told you guys in our scouts in our scouts chat, I was dead wrong about Michael Pittman and the ceiling at which he could be drafted. I felt like didn't matter what was going to take place. It was definitely going to be an instance where wherever he lands, he's likely going to be a mid to late second round at best. And he wouldn't get the capital, all those good things. Well, he goes at pick number 34 to the Colts, and he offers that offense as unique a target as it has, because nobody's quite built like him on that team. Nobody can do the things I think that he can do in terms of high pointing, working well against the sidelines, and he can carve himself out a role early, which is really cool to see too. So Michael Pittman, wheels up in Indianapolis. I really like the fit there.
That was who I was going between him and Ruggs at my last pick, actually. I think he's going to be the rookie wide receiver one this year. Like, he's going to hit the ground running, and he's just going to take right off. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get 1,000 yards and 9-10 touchdowns. Like, they have been so wide receiver starved in Indianapolis, other than T.Y. Hilton, for it seems like 5-10 years. It feels like forever since Reggie Wayne left and stuff. So it's been tough, man. So I think he's going to hit the ground running and just a complete wide receiver. So I like that.
Man, I wish I could drop gifts into the live stream right now, because I'd be putting the one of the kid like getting blown back and shaking. If you guys know which man, 1,000 yards and 9 tuts.
Woo! Yep. Oh yeah.
Who would be your wide receiver 2 for 2020, like for redraft purposes? Is there anyone that you think is even close to what you're kind of projecting for Pittman and his ceiling?
I think the only for like a redraft for this season, I think Rager is going to be close to that as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see him. I think those two have the best like ceiling for this season. You know, like I say that for Pittman, but that's probably. I don't want to say that's all he'll ever be, but that's probably realistically his ceiling for like his career. I think like he'll always be a very good receiver, but he'll never be like that guy that gets 1,500 yards and 14 touchdowns, you know, like that Julio Jones wide receiver 1 type. So he'll just be a really solid low wide receiver 1, maybe, you know, probably wide receiver 2 most of his career. But I think yeah, I mean he's an older prospect and he's had the seasoning and just how developed his whole entire game is. I think, yeah, he's gonna make a quick friend in Phillip Rivers. So, yep, you guys know who I'm taking at 206. So you can just go to 207. It's obviously Antonio Gibson. So I was surprised you guys let him fall this one, but that's fine. I've seen him go in the tail end of the first. That's crazy, man. As much as I love the kid, man, that's nuts, man. So yeah, I'll take Antonio Gibson here. You know, Geis is never going to stay healthy, I don't think. When I first heard the landing spot, I was a little pessimistic, but then somebody brought up, hey, Ron Rivera. You know, like the way that they used Christian McCaffrey, and like, yeah, they could maybe he can get creatively involve Antonio Gibson in this game. You know, I don't think they're gonna put Geis in there for 300 touches. You know, even if he is healthy, they're probably going to take him back a little bit. It leaves a role for Antonio Gibson on the field. So I know they have like 6 other backs there as well, but I think he's more talented than all of them, probably including Adrian Peterson at his age. I don't know. That might be a little spicy to say that. Like, it feels weird saying that, but so I think he'll have a role this year. He may not be a guy that, helps you win a title this year, but I think they'll get him more and more involved, and he's got a little bit to learn as well. So I'll take just the sheer upside of Antonio Gibson here at 206. So
I felt the same way, Dwight. At first I was like, oh my God, it's so crowded there. And then I thought about it. I was like, who's really there? They're like, if he shows well, like, who's really going to stop him? I mean, I guess a healthy Geis like AP. I mean, even if he can't get past AP for this year, I can't imagine he's going to be around any longer than this year. Bryce Love and Peyton, like, it's just a bunch of Jags, honestly.
And they use that draft capital. I was stunned to see him go that high.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was like,
where did you have him? Did you think?
I thought he'd go 3rd, maybe 4th. I was shocked. Like, I was like, whoa, nice. We'll take it. So, yeah. I guess he did go 3rd. I thought he went in the 4th. I was thinking he went late 2nd for some reason.
Well, that was the thing. It was like the 2nd pick of the 3rd. So
yeah,
I can see where you know.
Yeah.
Or 3rd.
Nice. All right. Robbie?
Oh, it is back to me. I need to figure out what I'm going to do.
Probably.
He wasn't ready.
I think this is where it gets really interesting in the draft, because there's just a ton of different directions you can go.
Dude, this entire second round is just flip a coin. You know what I mean? If we put any of these guys really in any order, like, are we really, like, is it really going to be like that crazy?
Right. Yeah. I've seen a lot of the early second kind of fill some of those wide receivers that have fallen out of the first, and we've hit most of them with Ruggs, Higgins, Mims. So then I just think this mid second is where it just gets all sorts of wild. I think I will go with Laviska Shenault with the Jaguars. I think he really matches up well with what Gardner Minshew does. I was a big D.D. Westbrook fan, but I think I'm finally done with that. I've just been waiting so long. I think I'm done. And Chris Conley, I'm done. So I think I am removing those badges from my vest and putting on the Laviska Shenault badge, because think he just does a lot of things well with what Gardner likes to do. So
I like it.
Like that pick. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was a good landing spot for him. I'm kind of scrolling through the chat here, and I am surprised to see that we still have a first round wide receiver who is yet to go off the board. I am not the biggest fan, but draft capital alone, scheme alone, I like. There's another receiver I know you guys know what I'm talking about that I like a lot more. Just in a, I'm letting this happen. Okay, if I want to be
payback, exactly.
Payback.
it's not. I could take him right here if I wanted to.
Then do it, coward. It's the second time you
can
coward.
do it.
I'm still gonna stay with the first round draft capital in the Kyle Shanahan offense, and I'm gonna go Brandon Ayuk here. This could be maybe a topic for a different Kamikaze pod, but the whole coach speak post draft, apparently Shanahan had Ayuk as his top receiver, ahead of Lamb, ahead of Judy, ahead of Jeff, ahead of everybody. Had Ayuk as his number one. And I believe they traded up to snag him as well, right? So
Yes, they did.
and you got to think we typically don't see the elite defenses the way that San Francisco played last year carry over year to year. So if they take a step back, and maybe if that running game falters just slightly, that'll open up more targets. I still have faith for my boy Debo. Still love Debo. Obviously, Kittle's there. But, as soon as Shanahan started talking about get open, I'll scheme you the ball, that sort of thing. So I'm gonna trust Shanahan here, and I'm gonna rock with him at the 208. J Mike, go ahead and do what you're gonna do.
I'm gonna leave that for someone else or for you, but just for the purpose of this, I am. I have who your man's is in this same tier of guys post draft, the Laviska, Ayuk, your man's, and then my man's again. I have them all like right there in their own tier. Those four guys, but right here, I'm actually going to go Zach Moss. I really enjoy the Buffalo landing space, and I really enjoy what Zach Moss can do on the field. I love how he actually destroys people at times. And I love his versatility, even though he's injury riddled. However, another guy that I think has the capability of being, and I didn't think this before the draft, but being paired with Singletary, I could see Moss being the A side of the committee. I like Singletary a lot, so no Singletary slander. I'm not gonna say that, but I think Moss could be the A side of that group. So I'm gonna go with Zach Moss here for the Blasty Blast. Doesn't enjoy that one very much, but he's also a Keyshawn at 104 guy, so I don't know what to think about that.
I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, Kev.
I love it.
I'm going Zach Moss here, 209.
All right. You got to duck out, J Mike, or it'd be a good spot if you want to.
Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you guys, and man, don't mess up my last pick. Whoever's gonna have it, man. Or no, that was my last pick.
That was. Yeah, that's why I thought it might be a good spot for you to duck out.
I appreciate you, Dwight. Appreciate you guys. Love y'all. Holler at y'all here shortly.
All righty. Ooh, a fancy schematic. We're getting fancy up in here. Somebody paid for graphics.
Yeah, look at your graphic down there at the bottom.
Man, just leaves me in this is 210. There's like 18 guys I want. So I know that really narrows it down some.
Yep.
This is a super flex draft, and I'm going to go with Jordan Love. So I think he landed in a pretty good spot there. I don't think they should have ever took him in the first round. I think that was the dumbest pick in the history of dumb picks. I thought that was the stupidest thing ever, but he does land in a good situation where the Packers seem to be almost ready to move on from Aaron Rodgers, probably a year or two, at least one, maybe two. You might see that exit. They might just kind of shove him out the door. Love's got that big arm. He needs a couple years to sit behind and learn the nuances of the games. He threw a lot of picks in college this last season. So there's a lot of things to like about his game. He's got an NFL arm, but the NFL mental ass side needs to catch up. So I'll take a risk here and throw a dart throw with Jordan Love at 210.
Yeah, that's good. I think, like you said, when that pick showed up in the first round, everyone was kind of like, what is going on?
Weird.
And you can only imagine what Aaron Rodgers thought, because imagine you just went, what did they go, 13-3. You went to the NFC Championship. Your biggest need is wide receiver and offensive tackle, kind of the two things, especially, on the offensive side, that can really help a quarterback. You feel like you're right there, and then the team trades up and drafts your successor. I cannot imagine. Dwight, if you had asked me before that, I would have said, I think Rodgers can play for 5 more years, and he probably still can, but I don't know if that's what the Packers. That relationship just took a hit.
Yeah, the writing appears to be on the wall. Aaron Jones is only 1 year under contract. They didn't get any wide receivers. They almost seem like they're setting themselves up for kind of a downfall a little bit. I mean, their defense surprisingly is one of the best they've had in years, and they've done really good addressing it. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a horrible season last year. I wanted to look at it. He had 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 4 picks. But it definitely didn't seem like he was the Aaron Rodgers of old. Those are definitely numbers not to shake a stick at by any means, but he doesn't look like the kind that had that killer mentality, that you go into the fourth quarter and Aaron Rodgers, if it was close, you just knew he was going to take the game over. And it just didn't. I know they went 13-3, but it just didn't seem like Aaron.
Right. They were probably. I don't know if the right word is overrated, but where you're not as strong as that record shows. I think Aaron Rodgers, just when you look at the touchdowns we're used to seeing, with up there at 35, 36, 40, and in the last 2 years, albeit one of the years he was injured, he's been down in, I think 26 was last year. So I think that's why we really notice it in fantasy, is that he's still slinging it, but he's just not getting the same end zone production. And a lot of that probably had to do with Aaron Jones getting 18 touchdowns last year.
Right, and their wide receivers they're okay. I mean, I like we mentioned before, I'm a Lazard fan as well. But they're, I'm not going to ever say Lazard's a world beater by any means. He's so. All right, Robbie, 211.
Yeah, so I think I was going to go a different direction until you went with Jordan Love, because I try to do my mocks like I probably would in an actual draft. And if I think my player might be coming up next, I'm going to snag him. So I am a Jacob Eason guy. I really, really, really like his landing spot with the Colts. It was a spot that I had projected for him. I thought he'd go there to the Colts in the 3rd. He ended up going there in the 4th, so a little bit later. But I think that's just a great opportunity to get behind Phillip Rivers, someone who I think he can really learn from. And then Brissett, I think, is on the last year of his deal, so I'm not sure if he's in the Colts' future. And then we talked about some of the weapons that they're getting around them. Obviously, Hilton's a little bit long in the tooth, but Pittman's there. They do have Paris Campbell from last year. Just drafted Jonathan Taylor, so I think they're going to be another one of those up-and-coming offenses that you want to be around. So I'm going to take Jacob Eason. Obviously has some work to do. Probably not going to start year one. Shouldn't start year one if you ask me, but I really like him as a long-term player.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that landed in the right situation. And I've been in Superflex, the couple I've done so far. I've grabbed him crazy late, like 4th, 5th round of rookie drafts. That's silly. Like, yeah, he's worth a shot, because at that point you're taking, like backup tight ends and crap. So
right.
Why not take a dart throw on him? So
yeah, I don't know how late we'll go, but where would you guys take him? Like, do you think this is on the early side? Is this where you guys have seen him? Do you see him going in the 3rd round? Where do you guys see him most of the time?
It seems it's early. I mean, it is, yeah. But I mean, you're still going to get those guys that are going to go after Hurts before this, and Hurts probably would have been the next quarterback off the ones that I have seen. You probably could have went late in the 3rd, but if it's your guy, go get him. Why not? I think there's some really good wide receivers still on the board, so that's kind of my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
Anthony McFarland and stuff. So I don't know, Cody.
You said that just for Kevin.
No, I like McFarland. I like McFarland a lot. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in Pittsburgh, but they've always been a one running back team, and I don't think he's got one running back. So
Right.
Cody,
Man, I love you guys. I can't believe that. I feel like you did this just for me, so I really appreciate it. But this has to be Brian Edwards. Can we just who else would it be?
You can pay us back for leaving him for you by getting off some of our players in Kamikaze auction when it starts. We'll each text you a player that you don't get to bid on, and we'll that's how you repay us.
I mean, does anyone even have any money in that league for this year?
Trey.
Yeah, outside of Trey.
I don't know. Ask the commish.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be between Edwards, Claypool, and Dillon for me here. Those are the only three I would look at the spot.
Yep.
I think
Claypool would have been who I went if I didn't go with Eason. So noted for my drafts.
Yeah. So this has been my guy since the beginning of it. Obviously, this is who I was alluding to earlier. Whenever I took Ayuk, I still love Edwards. Ray Garvin put out a tweet a day or so ago. I can't remember when I saw it, but basically just talking about his kind of, I don't even know if you would necessarily even call it a bold prediction, but just saying that Edwards is actually going to be the alpha in that offense over Ruggs in 2021. So, I mean, I could absolutely see that happening too, with Ruggs being a little bit more of a role player, so to speak. Love Edwards. Really not much else to say here. He can do it all. I know, Robbie, me and you have kind of gone back and forth about him a little bit, but we have a surprise guest, guys. We've been hitting this guy up for like 6 months now. I reached out to him. I said, man, I really love the show Bar Rescue. It would mean a lot to all the Kamikaze guys if you could make some time for us. Berg, we just finished up 212. I took Brian Edwards. Let's say you're starting the beginning of the third here. Who would be? I guess you probably have no idea who went. So this would be good just to give a little bit of a recap as well. So we went 101 was Clyde. Then we went JT, Burrow, and Tua finally came off the board at 3 and 4. Dobbins, Akers, Swift, Rager, Justin Herbert, Lamb, Judy, and Justin Jefferson finished out the first. 201, we kicked it off with Keyshawn Vaughn, Henry Ruggs, T. Higgins, Mims, Pittman, Antonio Gibson, Laviska Shenault, Brandon Ayuk, Zach Moss, Jordan Love, Jacob Eason, and then I just finished off with Brian Edwards. Berg, give us some late guys here. Start talking, man.
Sorry about that. I wasn't even sure if you guys were still going, so I wanted to just check it in, and then I should have been more prepared. Let me bring up my ranks here, see where I would go. I was so stoked from this draft. Like, I honestly, I don't think I've ever been so excited for fantasy than after this draft. Just because I love the landing positions for so many players. I was putting on my headphones for the tail end, but
it's all right.
So who was the last few in the round?
I got him here. You can see the chat.
Okay, Ruggs. All right. Well then.
These rankings that you speak of are they updated post draft, or are you still kind of working on that process? Where are you at with these?
They were when I tweeted them out, which it generated so much interaction.
I haven't seen it.
Literally, like one guy was like, "Good list."
I'm going in. Driving in right now.
No, but
I thought about
this is
I
my
thought about replying Berg, but your number 25, like it made me sick to my stomach, and I was afraid I would insult you as a human being, so I couldn't do it. You're muted.
His number 25. I'm ready to hear who this is.
You're still muted. Emmy Award winner can't find the unmute button. There we go.
How did I go? Oh, I didn't realize I went muted. Man, I'm batting 1,000. My number 25, I think, was Jalen Hurts. I had him pretty buried.
Oh, what? You must. All right, never mind.
24, Jalen Hurts, AJ Dillon, 25.
Yes, and then
You must have changed it. That was definitely not the case when I first saw it.
Oh,
So
I did make one.
Oh, 26 is Brian Edwards, his last guy.
Okay.
That's where it is.
Okay.
Fisticuffs are going to fly.
Well, you have 24. Okay, so yeah, so Brian Edwards went. All right, let's take a look here. I would go. I see the chat here.
I see your top guy still there. That's hasn't been taken. Alliteration.
Who is it? Who's my top guy?
I think your top guy's still available. Is a little Devin Duvernay.
Yeah, but you know what?
Ooh, he's going against the rankings.
I think
You never know how good your rankings are until you're on the clock. That is the true. That is the true.
Absolutely true.
Well, I saw a tweet that it did shape my opinion. But I think I would go AJ Dillon here. Who I believe is still available.
He is.
Yes.
And fairly decent draft capital. Yeah, fairly decent draft capital. I believe Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are coming into contract years. You could be sitting here at the top of the third round with the starting. There's a range of outcome where he's the starting running back for the Green Bay Packers next year, and I think the point of rookie drafts is to shoot your shot on these top end running backs that'll just accrue more value than some of these more highly touted wide receiver prospects who we might like in the process, but might decrease in value a little bit over that first year. And the classic, trade for them after this year scenario.
Dwight, what's your time schedule look like? Do we want to run another round so we can get Bergen here and kind of just see what the third round looks like?
I probably should bounce. I gotta.
Okay. That's just wanted to check.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking through to see what. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you guys can go through it. Sorry, Berg.
Oh no, I'm sorry, guys. I wish I was like fired up yesterday. I'm like I'm in, and then my day. It was a day. It was a day in the life of work. I'll tell you that.
We've been taunting you mercilessly.
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't. The Voltron, the arm of the Voltron was missing for the Kamikaze scouting or Kamikaze scouts.
Right.
But I'm glad I was able to hop in here at the end, and I feel like that's a good pick, AJ Dillon.
Absolutely,
I do. I agree.
Dwight, give us one more pick and then go ahead and get out of here.
God damn it! I just threw everything down.
Well, then,
just wipe the screen. It's done.
Anthony McFarland.
Anthony
I'll go with Anthony.
Your next pick, anyways.
All right.
That'll work.
Appreciate you jumping in, man. We didn't sign J Mike off, but he is at J Mike Check, and Dwight Peebles is signing off here. You can find him on Twitter at FF Peebles Champ. Thanks for joining, man.
Yep, send it to me and I'll edit it tomorrow, whatever. So
awesome.
Take care, guys.
Later, brother.
Later, bro.
So that's a good place to kind of to start here with you, Berg. It was a question we had from one of our top fans in the chat a little bit earlier. Kevin Steele, not sure if you've heard of him or not, but he asked us what our thoughts were on Anthony McFarland. So, Berg, I'll start with you here. See if you have any thoughts on the running back that the Steelers took out of Maryland. Day 3 at some point, 4th, 5th round, I believe, something like that. Any thoughts on him? Where does he fall in your ranks? Have you gotten that far, or just your general thoughts?
Yeah, no, here we go. I have him a little bit further down in my ranks at the moment. I think I have him ranked 39th, which is the tail end of the third. Probably too low because, that running back room in Pittsburgh is not exactly the healthiest crop, and you want to avoid giving people that injury-prone label, but at the same time, I think it's a bit unavoidable considering, Connor was so injury-plagued last year. I think that this is a guy that is explosive and, has a chance to do some damage. I think Benny Snell is nuked. I think his value is over. But, with the Steelers, they really want that depth. I think at one point, Kareth White was on the field for them towards the end of the season, and he was a UDFA, was in the backfield with Florida Atlantic's own Devin Singletary. So I think it's a nice piece for the Steelers, and, projecting him as, the next Le'Veon Bell, I think that's a bit much. But I do think he is a guy who could definitely accrue some value over the course of the season, and someone you might want to keep in the back of your mind when DFS rolls around.
Robbie, any thoughts on McFarland?
Well, I think he does the stuff well that you want to see in the NFL today. That running back room is so interesting. Like, you have Connor, and then I don't know. Like, it's Snell and Samuels. I could easily see McFarland playing over them, or vice versa. I can see them, hanging on to their spots. So I don't think they're anything great, and I think McFarland does what he does really well, and so they're going to maybe kind of force some of their offense to include what he does really well.
Being the resident negative Pittsburgh homer, he has some juice. Whenever I first watched McFarland, I saw more athlete than running back. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like if he got to the edge, he was picking up chunk yards. If it got kind of like gobbled up in the middle at all, like I didn't really see him create too often for himself. It kind of just shut down. Almost reminded me of like Darrell Henderson in that sense. I mean, if the hole was there, if he got to the edge, forget about it. You know what I mean? But I just don't know if Pittsburgh is the spot for him. We touched on a little bit earlier. It's a place where they just basically use one running back, run him into the ground until he either doesn't show up for training camp and games or he gets injured. So I wish I had more faith in them to use him in the way that he should be used, but I honestly don't. I think once Connor goes down, whether that's for 1 game, 2 games, 6 games, whatever it is, because it's inevitable he's going to get injured at some point. His running style and his injury history, they just don't mix well together. So I think at some point maybe we see him, but I don't think we see a lot of McFarland until Connor goes down, and that would just be my big worry with it. And also that offensive line isn't what it used to be a year or 2 ago either. They lost some guys retired. So first of all, I just hated their entire draft to begin with, but that's another story for another pod. But I would have been way more excited for McFarland if he would have landed somewhere like San Fran or Tampa Bay, someplace where I would feel like, even if he would have gotten drafted behind Jonathan Taylor in Indy, like some place where I feel confident, or even behind Miles Sanders in Philly, like some place where I felt confident that the coaching staff would know how to utilize him outside of injuries ahead of him. So I didn't hate him coming out, but I really don't like the landing spot. The nice thing for me though is like with the nice thing for me though is with being in some home leagues in Pittsburgh, him and Chase Claypool are going to go well before I would take them, so it's going to push down actual good players to me. So that is the only silver lining here. And we have another comment from Kevin Steele. Tune in tomorrow for me to tell you why Cody is wrong about McFarland. So we will be chopping it up about these landing spots a little bit more tomorrow. Not going rookie mock style, but just going kind of draft order and position by position and going over some of these guys. So after McFarland, Berg.
Can I give one last thought on McFarland? He definitely seems like a prime candidate for team preseason, and someone that they're going to probably keep Connor off the field. Samuels will get some run, but then it's going to be some heavy McFarland. And if the guy has a few splash plays, I think we all have been playing fantasy long enough, or if you're listening to this and you're new to fantasy, like preseason hype is real and it drives narrative. And suddenly, a scenario where McFarland's going to be the guy in Pittsburgh could be trotted out. And, suddenly the guy you got in your third round is now a second round pick. And all it took was a few plays in the preseason. So I think that there's a lot of things to like from a value standpoint for McFarland.
Yeah, and especially if you're in a dynasty rookie draft and you're having that later on in the year, and he does get that preseason bump, that definitely would be something to monitor. I'm afraid I might have just been kicked off the regular TFA pod in favor of Berg here. He's just gonna show up late at the end of the show, and he's just gonna steal everything from me.
Speak some McFarland loved, and you are in.
You're in.
Yeah. Well, who else we got here? I think we've covered McFarland a lot. I do appreciate that, Kevin. Though, thank you very much.
Who'd you take here after McFarland? Who'd be your next guy?
All right, hold on. Let me look here. I have DJ Dallas, I believe. Either that or Lynn Bowden. Or Josh Kelly. I think I think that you might actually want to move Josh Kelly up to the top of that tier. Josh Kelly ended up in a great situation, and he showed a lot of athleticism and burst at the Senior Bowl. Made a lot of waves. I'm almost 100% sure the Senior Bowl process is why he went from a small school to 1 year at UCLA to the pros. So, there's a lot of positive things to like about Josh Kelly. And one of I think the main things, and this is kind of a running theme now, is that running back room is just, it's Justin Jackson who got hurt, and it's Eckler, it's not a mountain to climb. So,
yeah, I mean, that's spot on right there, because you have Eckler, smaller guy. You have Justin Jackson, who I just think, as we've said with some of these other guys before, he's a jag. And so Joshua Kelly is, not I can foresee where he is getting, 15 touches a game, because, I mean, if he's filling at least part of that Melvin Gordon role, with Eckler kind of doing more of the receiving work, with let's say Tyrod, plays for half the season, and then you have a rookie come in, they're going to be running more. You can see Joshua Kelly having a lot of success year one. I don't love him as a prospect, but I think that landing spot really bumps him up for my board, so I can definitely get behind that.
Would you like to wax poetic about either of the other two names you threw out there, Berg?
Well, I think that Lynn Bowden in Las Vegas is very interesting. I know that, obviously they have a true bell cow and Jacobs in that backfield. But we all know that Carr is the check down king. And I think that what Bowden does is he takes those plays and he, turns them into big plays. So that's a nice, I think, role for him. And I think he's a guy that, if anything were to happen to Jacobs, he could, handle a little bit of the RB1 duties. I think that we saw enough. He was a leading rusher in the SEC last year, I believe. So I think that we know he can handle a little bit of workload. I know that was like in the back half of the season, but the guy obviously knows how to run the football, and he's just I like I like what he does. He's a playmaker, And with DJ Dallas, I think that Seattle seems like a place where guys get on the field. Travis Homer was on the field last year, They seem to be a little bit, I don't want to go back to – I'm going to try to say something other than injury prone, something a little bit different than just writing that proverbial cliche. But I think that DJ Dallas offers a lot in terms of his pass catching ability, and he's a bruiser too. Like, if they are going to be at the goal line, you could see him in there very easily, especially if anything happens with Carson or Penny. Penny's coming off ACL surgery, I believe. So he's not going to be, unless he's like Cooper Kupp, where the ACL doesn't matter at all, and he's back game one, 100% fine. So he, could still be rehabbing. So that is just Carson, and he got banged up at the end. And they run the ball in Seattle. They put these guys out there, and it's not necessarily even a guy being injury prone. It's just they use the running back position a lot and putting them in a position to get hurt. So yes, he's a bit of a depth piece right now, and I do think that Homer, is probably in his way more than I would care for. But I liked that pass catching ability, and I feel like he's got better long speed than a lot of people think. He's got a lot of breakaway runs in college, and he's got the ability to handle himself at the goal line.
Dude, the thing with DJ Dallas is all he has to do is make Pete happy during the preseason and whatever version of training camp we have. And then if Carson fumbles, if Penny can't get ready, I mean, what else is there? So he's one of those guys who, by mid-season, something like that, you could be looking at someone who's getting the lion's share of the carries. So that's he's definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. And I think at this point of early, mid, late third kind of range is a place where you want to take somebody like that who, his floor might be 0, but his upside, you could literally be looking at a 20 carry back.
Right. I think when you're looking at this spot in the draft, you want to do high risk, high reward, and you want to do it honestly for who can do it early, because that's where you can either take that value and flip that value for something else that you might want, or you can realize that it is sustainable, and it's that high reward, right? So I think those players that you've been naming, Berg, are definitely some of those players. So I'm on board with those.
All right, boys, we're about to hit an hour and a half here. Let's just kind of finish up with some, let's just spit out some names. Don't give, too much analysis on any of them. Robbie, throw out some names here, guys that you're, surprised that are still available, or guys that you would be looking to snag here if you had the next couple of picks. Who do you like at this point?
I think you said his name. I didn't catch what you said, but Chase Claypool is somebody that I have that's probably not going to last this long in mock drafts, or in real rookie drafts. Just that draft capital, obviously the combine. I really liked his tape even before. I remember writing to all you guys and saying, who is this other guy when I'm watching Cole Kmet tape? So Chase Claypool is someone that I like. DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, he didn't have the draft capital that I thought he would. He was, a 6th round pick, but Behind Landry and OBJ with the Browns, I think he's going to be next up, personally. And so I really like his landing spot there. Let's see, we said Zach Moss. Yeah, those are the two that I'd name. Maybe KJ Hamler, again, with the Broncos. They just have so many weapons. I don't know how much he really how effective he is early, but I really like the player. And as we know, and we've said 100 times already, injuries happen. And so you can definitely see him as somebody that can contribute if there's maybe not so many weapons around lock. But yeah, those are probably the big names. I mean, you and I have always talked about, you before me, Isaiah Hodgins with going to the Bills. He was their second wide receiver taken behind Gabriel Davis. I'll be honest, I do not know much about Gabriel Davis. I'll need to dive in. But as Diggs can kind of move around that offense, I think Hodgins is someone who maybe not year one. They obviously have their established vets there still, but he's someone who could maybe kind of like a Miles Boykin, where he kind of picks up some steam late, and maybe that second year is where he can make a little bit of noise.
Yeah, I think all that makes sense. I like the DPJ call. Hodgins, that hurts my heart. I thought he'd have some draft capital, but he did not. So that one's.
It's whatever, right? Like, what did you think he'd have? Like, maybe fourth would be a bit rich, like maybe fourth. But I was thinking fifth or sixth, and so he kind of went.
Yeah.
I thought honestly, it's just that they took a wide receiver before him and then dipped back for him, which is fine. But if it was Diggs and then they have Smokey Brown and Beasley, and then if some of those guys move on after a year, that's someone I'd fire up. But I need to dig into Gabriel Davis a little bit to see how that affects.
Yeah, I think he was, if I'm remembering correctly, kind of like a deep ball, outside kind of guy. If I believe, if memory serves, I think there were some people who were excited about him going into this year. Just some quick names I'll throw out here, and we'll wrap it up. Obviously, being Superflex, I don't think we mentioned him yet, but Jalen Hurts, just because of the format with the injuries that Carson Wentz, kind of just seems to be nicked up, banged up a bunch. That was another weird pick to me. Honestly, kind of the same thing with the Jordan Love pick, with how early that happened. I'd be super curious to see how much further he would have fallen if the Eagles had not taken him there. Darrington Evans is another guy. Got some juice, kind of be that lightning to the thunder, and then obviously Derrick Henry's only on the franchise tag for this year. So, I mean, I don't see him being a true workhorse, but I think he could be a heavier part of a committee than we might see him be used this year. And then just a couple other quick names here. Van Jefferson is just kind of it's a draft capital that has me intrigued. Like, I did like him as a player, but the fact that the Rams had so many other needs that, they seems like they just like didn't really care about, like
full Packers,
like offensive line, maybe. I don't like
Bird can get into that.
I don't think we have enough time.
Are you like you're about to get me triggered, man.
Oh, boy.
My night was ruined with the Van Jefferson pick, but you know what? I've spent the entire time since he's been picked and rationalizing it into a positive, which I'm in an okay place with, I think. But
that's what fans are supposed to do. You did it correctly.
Just rationalize it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be good.
But yeah, I think for me, just a couple names here, Robbie. It seems like we have a lot of guys in the same tier as well. But I think that at the end of the third, beginning of fourth is when it's going to be okay to start taking tight ends, because while this wasn't a class that was very well received in the prospect process by the fantasy community, I think that they all landed in very exciting spots to actually pique some interest. You talk about Cole Kmet. It really seems like Nagy is searching for his version of Kelsey. I mean, he went out and he got Burton. That didn't really work out. And now he's drafted a guy who really fits that mold of a 6'6", 6'7", 265 guy, which I think Komet is, which is like that that classic Gronk, Kelsey size. And then I think Troutman to New Orleans, Adam Troutman. Obviously, the tight end position has not been of value for the Saints since Jimmy Graham, but at the same time, you don't know what could I mean, I feel like there's some excitement there with Troutman. He's a guy that a lot of scouts liked. They liked his athleticism coming from, I believe, out of Dayton, small school. His when you watch his tape, it's like on a VHS. But I think that especially if famous Jameis makes his way on the field, or if he's more than just more than just catching a cup of coffee, as people love to say there. Winston loves the tight end. He had made what's his name in God, why am I blanking on his name? The tight end Cameron Brate a thing, especially for DFS. And then I think Bryson Hopkins. The Rams also utilized the tight end, especially at the end of last year with Higbee. So I think shooting your shot, especially because a lot of your leagues, if you're listening to a podcast like this, they are tight end premium, and I think you're okay to shoot your shot on some tight ends that might be worth a damn, even though no one thought that about 2 weeks ago. Maybe less than 2 weeks ago on Wednesday of last week.
Cody, real quick, need to just mention Tyler Johnson.
Yes.
He's got to mention. I think you just landing with the Bucks. Yep, you can pass. I will jump in there. I think he just had really good tape. The draft capital wasn't there. Off the field stuff has been the rumor mill, but yeah, man, he's someone. Don't you think he's someone that can come in just like week 9 and Brady just targets him eight receptions for like 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. He just seems like a guy that they're just going to say, all right, week 8, 9, 10, one of those weeks, we're just going to target him and make him look great.
Yeah, like maybe once Rob Gronkowski's like, shit, I actually don't want to do this.
Oh, so
I thought 3, I did.
Week 3.
Yeah, maybe week 9 is
their first Thursday night game.
It's like, man, I actually forgot how much this shit sucks, and losing those 40 pounds has not really helped me out for this. So, but yeah, man, that was such a nice spot. I was so happy to see him go there. He's someone who throughout this process, like I get it, like once we hear that enough, and then you had the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl snub, and then the Combine where he just like didn't do anything. Like all that stuff starts to add up, and I think especially for the film people, because I thought he had a really good film. He was a baller. Like we were all super excited about him 12 months ago. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, like all this stuff happens, and our boy Andrew Harbaugh was talking about all the stuff he was hearing down at Senior Bowl week, and then he came on my show, this one, and decided he was going to blast Tyler Johnson, and that's the last time you'll hear him on TFA. But no, like it was just super weird. But yeah, I was happy to see him land there. Like that is definitely a crowded room. But that, like, I think he could have like those like little random, just like you said, Robbie, 9 targets and he goes 8 for 80 in a touchdown. So this is such a fun class. Like, especially that second round, I think it's just gonna be super up in the air. The one of the Saturday to Sunday guys, maybe it was Paul Perticchese, he put out on Twitter about like just the top 5 running backs. We were really hoping for the NFL draft to help us shake that out, but those top 5, like none of them had an awful landing spot. Like like that's what I was banking on anyway, because I was like, leading up to the draft, I was like, these 5 put their names in a hat. Let me grab one out. I'd be happy with any of them. Banking on the NFL draft where they, someone ends up falling to like the 3rd and gets taken behind like Christian McCaffrey or just something like awful. But that didn't happen at all. like some of them have a little more question marks, and especially like with what we've touched on a couple of times with the COVID stuff, wondering how quickly they'll get on the field. But like there's even the ones that do have the question marks, there's not much in front of them. So it's going to be super interesting to see how all this stuff plays out. But boys, thanks for jumping on. Berg, thanks for coming in here at the end and joining us, man. Happy you made it. We know you were saying that your work day was hectic, so hopefully we gave you a little reprieve here.
You absolutely did, and I'm de-stressed now. So thank you all. I'm glad you guys were still running. You all have the gift of gab, and I received that gift. So thank you.
Love it, man. Thank you. Thank you again. You can find him on Twitter at Carl Jr. NFL Robbie is Robbie Jeffrey's handle. If you're still watching, please hit that subscribe and like button. It means a lot to us. And I will be back here tomorrow with Kev. So until then, keep living that fantasy life. Hit us up with the questions and all that jazz. So thanks again for listening, and we will see you guys later.